Hi, I'm Laird Hunt. I'm at City Lights Bookstore in San Francisco, and I'm reading a passage from The Corpse Walkers by Liao Yiwu, which was translated in collaboration with the author by Wen Huang. This book was challenged in China and banned there because it gives voice to a number of people excluded from society in China, including a professional mourner, a corrupt official, the corpse walker of the title of the book, and numerous others who aren't allowed to speak in general discourse in China. And so I'm going to be reading from the section called The Corpse Walkers. Stories of walking the corpse are popular in both northern and southern China. Most of the time the tales are so dramatically exaggerated that one has to discard them as fiction. After Li Changgen, a professional mourner, mentioned corpse walking in a previous interview, many readers wrote asking whether they were expected to believe Li's description of corpse walking. I myself thought it was half truth, half fiction, but recently I heard the following story which seemed to me quite convincing. On the anniversary of my father's passing, I traveled to Lijiaping in Sichuan, where my father was born and where his ashes are buried. After going through the rituals, burning incense, lighting firecrackers, and kowtowing in front of his grave, I paid a visit to Luo Tianwang, a feng shui master, who had selected my father's gravesite. Luo is an old family friend now in his 70s. He looked healthy and energetic, his vision was still keen and his mind sharp, and we spoke for some time. Liao Yiwu. When I was growing up here, I constantly heard stories about corpse walking from our neighbor, third Grandma Wang. She told me that people in Sichuan call the practice yo shi. While shi means dead body, the word yo is taken from yo ho, the sounds that corpse walkers chant while they haul the dead body along. Do you think there's any truth to these stories? Luo Tianwang. Sure. Corpse walking has never been an officially recognized profession, but the practice has been around since ancient times. When I was young, I had several friends in the business of trading salt. They used to travel by foot on dirt paths to the central provinces of Shaanxi and Henan. By the roadside, they would sometimes come upon shops that were closed and empty, with signs up saying, "Walking corpse across border." These signs were spooky, blowing in the cold wind on a deserted mountain road. When my friends told me about this, I said, "When a person dies, he becomes stiff. How can he manage to cross the border?" They didn't know, and it wasn't until a couple of years later that I found out how it was done. Liao. Corpses crossing borders? Did that mean the border that separates the worlds of the living and the dead? Whoa. No. It meant literally crossing the province or county borders. As I told you, transportation was not very well developed then. The so-called national highway was a rutted dirt road. When a traveling businessman died of a sudden illness or accident, it was hard to transport the body back to his village to be buried in his native soil. And if a dead person is not returned to his hometown as custom dictates, he would be called a lonely soul and a homeless ghost. So, since buses or trucks weren't available, if the family could afford it, they hired professional corpse walkers. Liao. But how could a corpse walk? Was there magic to it? I've heard that corpse walkers would have a black cat climb over the dead body, generating static electricity that would make the corpse move like a puppet. Whoa, that's nonsense. Liao. Have you ever seen someone walk a corpse? Whoa. Yes, in the early 1950s, the new communist government sent a work team to launch the land reform movement, which took land from the rich and gave it to the poor. The work team categorized people according to their wealth and beliefs. Rich landowners and nationalists were deemed enemies of the people, and many were tortured or executed if they couldn't first escape into the mountains or pay off the triads to protect them. Since 3 generations of my family have been in the feng shui business, we were considered practitioners of superstition, and I wasn't allowed to participate in the land redistribution activities. I had nothing to do, and one dark and overcast afternoon, I was strolling along the village road when a bulky black object suddenly passed me, sending a chill down my spine. The thing was covered with a huge inky-colored robe. The bottom hem of the robe was splattered with mud, and from time to time a leather shoe poked out below. The footsteps were heavy and made a repetitive thudding noise like someone knocking the ground with a block of wood. Just then my friend Piggy scurried up to me and whispered in my ear, "That's a corpse."